The recording. Okay, so this is the beginning of session 3. So this is our third session of the day. We're just going to knock it all out at once. So we had a couple of questions during the break that I wanted to kind of go over real quick. One of the questions was the publish date for assignments. So we can take a module and we can lock that module until we're ready for it to release. And we can do the same thing with an assignment. Now, any assignments within that module are automatically going to be locked until the module is published or the module is released. But even within that module, your module may be the entire week. You don't want all 5 days worth of assignments to be available on the first day. So within the assignment, we're going to come down and we can actually answer a couple of those questions from this screen. We can have an available from, and that's the exact same thing as the lock until. So if this assignment was going to be a week 1 assignment, so we'll count the 17th as week 1. So if this is a week 1 assignment, I may want the first assignment to be available on the 17th, but I may not want the second assignment available until the 18th. And so each individual assignment, you can go ahead and move that around. And I will show you something that we talked about earlier. So let's say I assign this on August 17th. Okay, that's when it's available from. The due date would be August 18th. This is going to show up on my calendar as due on the 18th. And if something happens, I can simply go to my calendar and drag that assignment to whatever day I need to move that to. And it's automatically going to adjust that. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to go to the calendar real quick. I'm going to skip to August. Okay, so there it is. So we assigned it on the 17th. We can simply take this assignment and we can move it wherever we want. And when we do that, it's going to go ahead and adjust all of the dates accordingly. So that makes it a little bit easier. You know, once you get everything set and all of a sudden they delay school by a week, it's not a big deal. You can just go in and move everything over. And there, you can also, I'm not sure. Okay, if you have any assignments that you don't put dates on, they're going to come up right here. So if you forget to put a date on an assignment and you can't see it, your undated assignments are going to pop up here. So maybe you have like a sub assignment that you want the kids to do on a day, but you don't know what that day is. That would be an undated assignment. You can even have it in a module that says substitute module. And so when you're ready to assign that, you would come through here, grab that assignment, and put it on the day that you want for that sub. Okay, so that's amazing sub assignments right there. So you remember you used to always have to have a stack of copies that were already printed out and already ready to go, or you would have to call a teammate to go and make copies for you in the morning. You can just have an undated assignment ready to go, and then 3 o'clock in the morning, your kid starts throwing up. You just throw that into the assignment and everything's good to go. So that's always an option. Okay, another question about assignments, and I will go back to that same assignment, is if you are a specials teacher and you've got 4 or 5 different sections and you want to assign different sections, different due dates, because you may meet with 2nd grade on Monday and 3rd grade on Tuesday, or however you do that. And I think I've combined some of my courses here. Some of my sandboxes I've combined so that you can see that. Yep, this is a good one. Okay, you can see I have 3 course sections in this sandbox. I've just combined 3 sandboxes together. So if I have an assignment, and I come down to the bottom, I can either assign that to everyone and everyone has the same due date, or I can assign that to each individual section. So this might be Mrs. B's 3rd grade class, and that one's going to be due on the 29th. Then I'm going to add another section, and I'm going to say, okay, Mrs. F's 4th grade class is going to be due on the following day. So this is how you can take a single assignment and assignment for different days. And so that's going to make it very easy for you specials teachers. So you don't have 25 different course cards. You can combine everything into one. So that's a great question. Is it possible to pull a module from a prior course and bring it into my new course? Oh, yes. All right, so to do that, we're going to use the import feature. So here in this sandbox, I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to import course content. All I need is the name of the prior course. So when I import, I'm importing a Canvas course. Don't worry about the rest of this for right now. Okay, we're going to import a Canvas course, and we're going to put in the name. So let's say I have my pre-AP geometry course that I taught last year, the distance learning, and I want to pull in one of the modules from that course. I could either import the entire course. I very rarely want to do that. I generally want to just choose the specific content. And then once that's imported, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, okay, I don't want all the modules. I just want week 1 and week 2. So you can pick whatever modules that you want to import. You can also pick individual assignments. So let's say I just want to bring in all of week 2's assignments. I can do that. If I just want to bring in a home page, let's say I had really nice home pages last semester and I just want to bring those in, then I can bring in all of my home pages. Okay, so this is how you can import just individual content into your course. And you can do this from other teachers' courses as well. You just need to know what the title of their course is. So that's a great question. Okay, so that gets us to one of the questions that we had, and that was sharing and importing. So I cannot overemphasize how much you should create teams and work on this together. It's a lot of work for any one person to do for an entire class, but you guys don't do that anyway. I mean, I've been in the elementary schools long enough to know that you don't have 4 first grade teachers all doing their own thing, making their own copies, doing their own math lessons. You guys are amazing at divide and conquer. So do that here too. Whatever your role was in the classroom, that should be your role in Canvas. So if you had to divide it up by subject, then divide it up by subject for Canvas as well. So let's say that I made a great assignment for math and I want to share that with the other teachers in my group. I'm going to come to that assignment, and over here on the right, I'm going to pick these 3 dots and I'm going to simply send it to them. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to type in their email addresses. So I'm going to send this to Rusty. It's going to find his name. I'm going to send it. And then that single assignment just by itself is going to show up here in his account settings. So I have the number 1 up here. It's because Rusty and I do this back and forth to each other. So the last time he taught a course, he sent me an assignment. So the 1 tells me that I have something sent to me. It's going to show up down here under shared content. And that assignment that he sent me is going to be here, and I can simply import that into one of my own courses or my own sandboxes and use that just like I normally would. So that's 2 different ways to share content. You can also put your content on the Moore Public Schools Commons. So let's say you don't necessarily know who's going to need your material, but you want to put it out there for anybody to use. You can take your information, you can put it on the Commons. And so instead of everybody's Commons, if you come up here to the filter, you can filter for just Moore Public Schools content. And so these are courses and modules and everything that teachers at Moore Public Schools have shared just with Moore Public School teachers. So as we continue with this, the more that you keep going and keep building your stuff, put it out here, update it. I mean, here's a PE demo. It looks like this might be some of the stuff from the district coordinators even. So just make sure you go through and look at all this stuff. And so you would open the course and you would import it into your sandbox, play with it a little bit, and then you can send it over into your actual content course. Let's see, we had a question about Clever. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do Clever assignments, because I know you guys use Clever and Seesaw. I have never personally used Seesaw. Your site tech at your building should be able to show you how to integrate it into Canvas. The MPS Canvas Elementary Training course that you enrolled in, Andre has a video that shows you how to install Seesaw, and you would just put it in like you normally do. So Seesaw is still an option for Canvas, as is Clever. So within your courses, let's open up a sandbox. You've got the Clever Eye option right here. And so that is a tool that they've embedded. And so you would simply open this up and it would take you to the standard Clever interface that your students all know. And so you would simply go through and model this like you would anything else. Now, the Clever badges will still work if they have a camera on their device. So if you want to make laminated badges that the students can take home, that's fantastic. Or you can give the logins to the parents and the parents can log them in manually. Because for your littles that can't type in their own name, they're going to need their parent walking through them anyway. So that would be good. Okay, let's see. Okay, and then the last one is integrating Office 365 products. Okay, so this is the last little part of assignments. Okay, and that's a good question. So one of the questions is, how do I import files from my OneDrive to Canvas? Depends on how your computer is integrated. So let me come up with another assignment here. So here's an assignment that we imported in. It says watch the video, then record your response. They embedded a video. So they went to a website, they copied the embed code, and they used the rich content editor embed option. So here's your links and your embeds right here. So if you link an external website, or if you link another quiz or page or course, this is where you can install images. And then this is where you can upload videos. So there's that embed feature. So they've copied the embed close to add their video. And they used Vimeo. So they did a little citation here at the bottom. But let's say I want to add a worksheet, and that worksheet is in my Office 365 account. So I'm going to come up here to Documents, and I'm going to upload that document. Now, here's where it depends on how you have your computer set up. If you already have your Office 365 OneDrive linked to your computer, you can do it directly. So I have installed the OneDrive app on my computer. I've linked it to my More Schools account. So I have access to all of my files directly onto my File Explorer. So I could just open it up, find the page that I want to add, and I can simply add that file. If you go to your File Explorer, if you click on Drag File here, and all you see are downloads, documents, pictures, just your computer files, you don't have a OneDrive, then you're going to need to add just one step, okay? So what you will do is you will access that Office 365 that I showed you. So you would go to the mooreschools.com website, and you can bookmark this after you go to it the first time. And you can go to your Office 365. And access it directly. So what you would do is you would download that file to your computer so that then you can put it into your Canvas. It's an extra step and it's not ideal, but for the most part, that's how you're gonna have to do it. If you're on your personal computer, I would definitely recommend adding that OneDrive account. If you're on a school computer, sometimes there's some issues with that syncing. Okay. Another option that you have, and this is an assignment option that a lot of you guys would like to use, maybe for some of the bigger grades, is you want to, and this is kind of a Google Docs, Google Slides type option. If you want to give everybody their own copy of the assignment that they can edit themselves and then submit that electronic file. Not a lot of the elementary kids are going to use it, but the upper grades might be able to handle that. So to do that, instead of doing an online submission, you're going to do external tool. Okay, so online submission is where They write down their answers and send you a picture. They create a file in PowerPoint and email it to you. They record themselves with the answer and they send that back to you. If you actually want them to edit a form and that form come back, then you're going to use external tool. And if you hit find, it's going to bring up all of the external tools that you currently have. So you can do Clever. You can have that as an external tool that within the assignment takes them directly to Clever, so they don't have to go to the main screen. You can do a Google Drive. So if you already have your Google Slides or your Google Docs, you can link them here. Or you can use the Office 365 Cloud assignment. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to open directly my OneDrive. Okay, so this one you don't have to download to your computer first because it's within the assignment. So it's going to go ahead and link those. So you would choose where your files are. You would choose that folder, navigate to your files. I'm just going to see if I can find .doc. There we go. So what's going to happen is every student who you assign this to is going to receive their own personal copy of that document. They will make changes to that file. And when they submit the assignment, it's going to send you a PDF copy of their file. It's not going to send you the .doc, it's going to send you a PDF copy. That allows you to annotate, and that verifies that you don't accidentally make any changes while you're grading it to their document. So you still get that PDF copy. So those are some other things to do within assignments. Okay, perfect. So I think we've pretty much thoroughly encompassed everything to do with assignments. I think you guys are doing really good with that, but it's going to be something you're going to have to play with. You're going to have to work on. One of the things I will tell you is once you've done this training and you've worked through the videos, the K through 12 First Day Ready, and if you still have a question, you can go reference Andre's videos on the MPS Canvas Elementary training. But I would heavily rely on these Canvas guides. So I just went through a brief rundown of the things that you can do with an assignment. If you want a complete list of everything that you can do with the assignments, I want you to use those Canvas guides. So here we go, assignments. All of these are instructions for assignments. You're not going to need all of them. So I wouldn't recommend watching a 2-hour video on everything you need to know about assignments. I would pick the couple of things that you want to use assignments for and walk through these, because one of the really good ways, things about this is that it shows you examples with actual students present. So for instance, here, how do I view differentiated assignments with different due dates in a course? Okay, so it's going to walk you through taking assignments. This one's a quiz, changing the due date. So you have one student that has a longer due date. So maybe your student's IEP gives them an extra day to complete their assignments. This walks you through how to do this with actual assignments and with actual students. So sometimes these examples are a lot better than we can do on our videos simply because we don't have students enrolled. And so I cannot tell you enough how useful these guides are. They really are. Okay, now we are going to continue on. So we are going to start the meat of session 3 now, and that is quizzes. So please remember that quizzes and assignments don't have to necessarily be quizzes and assignments. You can use a quiz as an assignment. It can have a due date. Just consider that a self-grading assignment that offers immediate feedback. The quizzes are not going to be able to have that file uploads, but you can do multiple choice, fill in the blank. I'm going to show you some options for that. So I'm going to show you a copy of a quiz that Andre put together. Just kind of step you through it, and then I'm going to show you how to build one of those quizzes. So you have access to this as well. It's under the MPS Canvas training course that if you have not enrolled in, you should. And it is under quizzes on his navigation, and it's the cross-curricular quiz. Now, please keep in mind that when he made this example, he made it for the secondary level, so these are all secondary questions. But as you go through and you look at those Canvas Commons, you'll see quizzes that are written for your grade appropriate and your subject appropriate level. And I can kind of show you some that are not going to be applicable for your kids and some that you could use and really have a good success with those. So here's a preview of it. So the quiz instructions, when you go to create a quiz, it gives you that rich content editor where you can put anything you want. Videos, files, images, text, links to other sites, anything you want. Those instructions are going to stay at the top of the quiz for the entire quiz. So for instance, if you're doing a quiz over a short story that you've read to the students, you may want to add a video of that short story from YouTube or from Vimeo so that they can go back and rewatch different sections of the video to see the story. So that might be something. If you're doing multiplication, you might put a multiplication table up here so that they have something to go back and reference as they need to. All right, so we have this quiz set up so that the students can only see one question at a time. And for your littles especially, I would make sure that you have that. It just keeps everything nice and simple for them. It's not overwhelming. So here's an example of just a standard multiple choice question. So they would read the question, they would answer it, and then the next button highlights so they know to move on to the next quiz or the next question. So here's a true/false question. They would answer that and move on. So these are some that you could have for your kids. Now, remember, for the multiple choice, you don't have to have a text answer. You can insert an image for those answers. So instead of A, B, C, or D, it could be a green square, a yellow square, a red square, and a white square. And you can say, what color is the sky? And they would choose the blue square, which I didn't even mention, but you get the point. Now, here is a question where the question is actually an image that we've added with a short text question up at the top. So anytime you see that rich content editor, you can add any type of media that you want to that question. So this teacher put in a question and then she gave the reference material for the periodic table that the students can reference to answer the question. Okay, so they would answer the question and move on. Now this one, I'm not thinking you guys are going to use that much unless you wanted to use it for like a spelling, but I probably wouldn't even use it for that. These are fill in the blanks, and I just wouldn't even worry about fill in the blank questions. You can use them, and I'll show you how to make them a little bit more applicable for elementary school. This is simply a multiple choice fill in the blank. So they would have to fill in each multiple choice. So instead of having a bunch of questions, you can just have a few with multiple choice fill-ins. This is a multiple correct answer. Now, if you notice, these have squares instead of circles, and in your instructions, you would tell them there are more than one answers, select all correct answers, select multiple answers. So you may give them a little bit of extra information so that they know that there's more than one prime number, okay? So you would go in and you would just select all of the prime numbers, and it will count those as a percentage. So if this is, say, a 10-point question, they would get 1/10 for each correct answer. So it does do partial answers as well. Okay, this is a question, no question. It's just text. So there's a couple of different ways that you can use this. You probably won't, but if your quiz encompassed 2 different topics, say it was 2 different stories, then you could have your main story, and then you can add a second story that they would have to read that would go in. This is also a good way to do it. For instance, if you wanted to put a video, but you didn't want that video accessible for the entire quiz, you can put it as a text, no question, and then it wouldn't be up at the top like these quiz instructions are. So that is an option. And this is just, maybe even a break. Say, hey, do you need to, take a couple minutes and go take a break or walk around or stretch, or you can put a little brain break video in here for your kids. That's always kind of fun. Okay. This one, I can see you using at an elementary level, 3rd and up. So this is a multiple drop down. So if you're doing a spelling test, you can have a multiple drop down with the most common misspellings and the correct answer. And they have to select the correct spelling from the list. So that's an option as well. This one is a little bit easier. I'm not going to take the time to read this, so. Might be an option that you could use at the elementary level. Same thing here. They're just choosing the definition or the translation based on the original. So this is something, especially for your early kids, you could put colors here. You could put letters of the alphabet. You could put C_T, and they have to pick the letter that goes in the middle. So these are all ways that you can create these that are still elementary level, but they're self-grading. The grades will sync to Canvas, and you can do it for your distance kids. So really great way to get that set up. And then here's just a simple math question. So you would just enter in, and now we're going to submit the quiz. Now, here is the really cool part for these quizzes, is that you can add immediate feedback. So here, I've done this quiz. Now it's going to show me all of the questions, whether I got it correct or incorrect. And if I got it incorrect, I have the option when I create this quiz to give some feedback. So here we put a funny little meme. I should know that that's not the correct answer, but I'm a math teacher, so it's okay. And then the correct answer at the bottom, or the definition for the wrong answer. So you can give that immediate feedback. You can also give feedback for correct answers. Oh my goodness, I guessed correctly. So here's a correct answer. The student knows that they got it correct. And then it goes through just a little bit more information. Fantastic. You use the chart. This is the information that you got off the chart, and moving on. So this is one of those things. The self-grading and the instant feedback are really nice features of these quizzes. And so you can set your quizzes up where they can, so here's multiple questions. I got one correct, 3 wrong. And let me pull up that. Okay, so the prime factor one, so the prime numbers. So you can get feedback on every correct answer with these. All right, so let's build a quiz real quick. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to build quizzes, because we actually now have the new quizzes feature. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my sandbox. I'm going to create a quiz, and I've got the option to use one of 2 different quizzes. So if you're secondary, all of the quizzes that you created last year were classic quizzes. The quiz I just showed you was also a classic quiz. Now there's a new set of quizzes here that you can choose. It's an option, it's not required. This classic quizzes will probably give you everything that you need to create the quizzes. This one just has a couple more features. And again, I would highly recommend within the Canvas guides that you looked up, if you wanted to look into those, look up the new quizzes, and it's going to take you to all of the new quizzes, okay? And it's going to give you instructions on how to set them up and all of the new features. The one really good part about these new quizzes is it has a hotspot question. And let me just, and it has the moderation. I'm going to walk you through all of that because I think you might really like those. Okay, so classic quizzes first. Going to name it. You're going to set, this is your quiz instructions. So that's the text, video, image, meme, whatever you want to add here. This is going to show for all of the questions. It's going to stay up the entire time. Those quiz types that we talked about. So you have a practice quiz versus a graded quiz. So you could think of this as bell work versus assessment. You also have a survey. You can have a graded survey or an ungraded survey. Graded survey simply means that it's going to come up as a line item in your grade book. It's going to show you whether or not the students have submitted it or not. Okay, surveys don't have right and wrong answers. That's why they're called surveys, but it's going to tell you if the students have completed it. So if you're doing those check-in forms that we had to do during distance learning for the secondary, for the elementary schools, you guys just had to make physical contact. We had to get, we could do a form and say, hey, how are you doing? What did you eat for dinner last night? Are you feeling safe? Do you need to talk to anybody? You can have that as a graded survey. You can know exactly who submitted it and who you still need to make that personal one-on-one contact with. I always want these synced to Infinite Campus. You can shuffle the answers, which is really good, especially if you've got them in a computer lab taking the same test. You can give it a time limit. Wouldn't recommend that for the littles. I would definitely allow multiple attempts, especially if you're looking for comprehension. So if you allow multiple attempts, keep that in mind when you're doing the feedback. Maybe for the incorrect answer, you don't tell them what the correct answer is, but you tell them why their incorrect answer was incorrect, so that they can go back and retake that test and possibly get the correct answer. Okay, and then there's just a bunch of different options. You can hide the correct answers until everybody has taken the test, so that might be ideal. Don't worry about access codes or IP addresses. We're not going to be using those in distance learning. And here's the same thing. You can assign it to individual students who are absent. You can assign it to individual sections if you're doing it on different days, or you can assign it to an individual group that you create. Let's say you have 3 students that are all going to be out for 3 weeks. You can just make one student group for those 3 students and assign it to just them every time. Okay. Now, one thing, I didn't touch on this too much in assignments, but this available from we talked about. So the quiz would not be accessible until the available from date. The due date is the date that it shows up on the student's calendar and their agenda. So you want to make sure it has a due date. But this until is when you're going to lock it. So for instance, in the secondary, if we were giving a quiz in class, we would have that quiz available until the end of the hour or until the end of the day. And then if they wanted to come in and make up that quiz, they might have to come to us for some special instructions. You don't want to do this in distance learning. You are not going to be able to dictate when these students do these assignments. And if they're out for 3 weeks, they may wait until the day before that end of that 3 weeks to get all their work done. And you've got to allow them that. So I leave this until open. I just don't even put a date. If you put a date, I would put the end of the 9 weeks or the end of the semester, just absolute final, but you're fine just to leave that blank. Okay, so now adding questions. You're going to come up to the top after you filled out all the details, and you're going to start building questions. Now, you can create a question bank where you have 10 questions or 20 questions, or you can work with your group and create 100 questions that you can choose from. You can just do what you're going to do this year, and then next year add 10 more questions to the same question bank, and then the next year add 10 more questions. And after you do this for a while, you can create some amazing, really deep, high level, you know, those DOK 3s and 4s that they always want that it's so hard to write. You can start incorporating more of those and build this as you go. So again, it's a little heavy at the front end, but as you continue to use this, it's going to become your favorite resource. So when you create a new question, you're going to give the question a name, question 1, question 2, and just choose the type. So these are all of the different ones that are allowed. If you want to do multiple drop downs, choose multiple drop downs. You would type your question here, and these would be your possible answers for it. So you could create different answers. You would add as many as you wanted to drop down, and then you would put your variables above. So it shows you kind of here, enter your questions, right? And it tells you how to create those variables so you could have multiple drop downs, okay? So I might put 4 plus 4 equals, and then I would put my brackets, the correct brackets, Wendy, and my answer. So down here, answer would become a variable, so I could put, is it going to be 6? Is it going to be 7? Is it going to be 8? Or is it going to be 9? I would choose the correct answer, and then I would save that question. So now when the students see that question and we can preview it, they would click on this and it would be a drop down of all the possible answers, and they would choose the correct answer. So there's a bunch of different ways to take these quizzes and put them on a level that the kids can answer. And one of the things you have to remember is our state assessments, even in the junior high level, are moving to, are the answers case sensitive? Yes, they are. So you may want to put a comment in the question, all lowercase, all uppercase, or you could put both. So if you want to do all of them all caps and all of them low caps, they can both be correct answers. So you can have multiple correct answers for the fill in the blank. But again, that's why I like the drop down, because the drop down, you don't have to worry about spelling. You don't have to worry about capitalization. You don't have to worry about case sensitive. You can have just the answers to choose from. So let's see. You can have a quiz that is not multiple choice, but is still graded automatically. No matter what you put here, you're going to have to give it a correct answer within the quiz. So let's add another question. So let's say we're going to do a fill in the blank. Okay, this is probably the hardest because they could make some mistakes. So here you would say, what color is the sky? And they would add the fill in the blank. Okay, so enter your question. Okay, then we're going to define all of the correct possible answers. Okay, so we're going to add an answer. The first one might be blue. The second one might be blue. The third one might be blue. These can all be correct answers. Okay, does that make sense? And then we could add the rest of the answers. All right. So all of these are possible answers. You don't have to do the incorrect because it's a fill in the blank. So this way, no matter how they filled that in, then they would be able to get the correct answer. Okay. Another question, what about numeric answers? And that's a great question. On your level, on our level, we are very specific in the secondary about rounding and place value and stuff like that, but for your kiddos, maybe not. So what you can do when you do numerical answers is you can actually give a range. So if I was going to do a new one and it was going to have a numerical answer, I can do either exact, or I can do in a range, or I can do answer with precision. So these are ways that you can make sure that if it's 10, they can have answer within the range, and you can put like 9.9 to 10.1, or you can do precision. So in that case, your precision would be to 1 decimal place. Okay. So the correct answer would be 10 with precision to 1 decimal place. So those are ways that you can kind of give ranges for numerical answers. Great, great questions. Okay, so one thing I want to show you real quick, and I have to do this with another one where I've already created a question bank. So I have this ACT course that I've been kind of working on my own, and I've been building questions that I've taken from ACT tests. So retired ACT tests or ACT tests that I've purchased. I have created question banks. So instead of adding quizzes, I add questions to the banks. So you can create a new question bank. Okay, you can name it whatever you want. I've already got one here. And so these are all multiple choice questions because ACT is multiple choice. And each question, all 60 questions from the math section of this ACT are here. So you can build a bank with as many questions as you want. And then what I would do is if I was going to build a quiz, instead of adding new questions each time, I would find questions and I would locate them in my question bank. Okay, so once you do this once, you never have to do it again. So I'd say, okay, these are my questions. I want these 3 questions to be on my quiz. So I come all the way down to the bottom, I add those questions. My 3 questions are in my quiz. I update my details. I'm done. So think about how you can work together on this. So if you've got 24 5th grade math teachers at Moore Public School, and you each wrote 1 question, there you go. You got your quizzes for the entire year. And when you have multiple teachers writing questions, you also get multiple formats, you get multiple levels, you get multiple resources. So that type of calibration is really, really fun. Okay, now I'm going to show you the new quizzes because they've got some very nice features in the new quizzes, and you can use whichever one you want. So this time when I create a quiz, I'm going to choose new quizzes. Now it's a little bit differently. The details are the same. Points, assignment groups, complete or incomplete, based on points. All of this stuff is the same. Allowed attempts, assignments. You don't see any questions up here yet. You have to create the quiz first. So set it up, name. Canvas really likes telling me when I forget stuff. Now that you've created the quiz, you build it. So it looks a little bit different. It looks a little bit more user-friendly. So there's the settings for your quiz. So you can up all of these different options you can do within that quiz. You can shuffle the questions, not just the answers. So this is going to be great in those upper grades where you can choose different questions. You can allow multiple attempts, calculators, whole 9 yards. You can get reports back. So these are your quiz statistics. So item analysis or your standards, if you have standards applied to it. And you can moderate the grading. And this is so beautiful. Okay, I'm going to show you this moderate because actually I'm not. I'm going to show you where to learn about it. Okay, so moderate is something on a secondary level is super important because we're going to be giving these quizzes to all of our students on Canvas. We're going to have laptops in the classroom. So if you're a secondary, I want you to go in and I want you to look at this. How do I moderate a quiz from the new quizzes page? So I want you to look at that. I'm not going to do that here because really on an elementary level, it's not going to be that beneficial to you. So we're just going to build the questions. So with the new quizzes, they're called item banks instead of question banks. It's the same thing. It's where you're going to build all of your test questions. So we're going to create a new test question. We're going to choose the different forms. Categorization is new. It's kind of like connect the lines. So you give all of the states and all of the capitals and they connect the correct ones. So categorization is a new one. File upload is if you want them to complete something on their own and submit it like an assignment. So this is another way that you can kind of use quiz and assignments interchangeably. Formulas is where they're answering a question. So that's a mathematic one, solve for X. Matching, multiple choice, ordering, these are pretty specific. This is the one that I wanted to show you, this hotspot. Oh my goodness, it's so awesome. So I'm going to show you the Canvas guides for hotspots. One of the things, let's see. One of the things I like to use these guides for is because it shows you examples with actual quizzes. So let's see, where is the hotspot one? Okay, so within we build assessments. Sorry, let me find the, I'm just going to go through the instructor guide because that's easier. So here's the section on new quizzes. So everything you need to know about new quizzes. Here's the hotspot question for new quizzes. Okay, so basically what you're going to do is you're going to add an image. Okay, so you add this image and maybe your question is locate Thomas Jefferson in the image below. So you want them to be able to click on Thomas Jefferson and get that answer correct. So you're going to draw a hotspot around Thomas Jefferson. And so as long as they click anywhere within that hotspot, they're going to get the answer correct. So if they click over here, that's obviously not Thomas Jefferson. They're going to get the answer wrong. So this is great on an elementary level. It's clickable. It's your pre-readers and your emerging readers are going to be able to do this. Instead of typing out, click on George Washington or click on Thomas Jefferson, you can have a little audio that reads that to them and says, here's a picture that we looked at in class today. Can you pick on the bunny rabbit? Can you pick on the horse? So unlimited capabilities for you guys. You can use it in some of the upper class. Think about geography. 4th, 5th, 6th grade geography and social studies, being able to put a map in here and identify locations on a map. There's a bunch of different ways that you can use that. So I just wanted to go over that really quick. Let's see. Discussion boards, I'm not going to touch on today. That was on the agenda, but honestly, for elementary students, you're not going to use discussion boards. And if you do, you can go through the Canvas guides. It's pretty simple the way you can set it up. The biggest thing about discussions is making sure that you have the options set. Are they allowed to like each other's posts? Are they allowed to read each other's posts? Are they allowed to comment on each other's posts? And then moderate, moderate, moderate. So if you're going to do something like that, make sure you go through that. Okay. The last thing, I've already gone through SpeedGrader. The last thing I wanted to do in this session, I have about 16 minutes left, is I want to go over rubrics. Rubrics are not required. I didn't use rubrics in the secondary level. A lot of teachers don't. Generally, on the secondary level, we use rubrics for projects and long-term group activities where there's several different levels that we want the kids to make sure that they remember. So we give them a rubric at the beginning. It's kind of a checklist of what to do. However, you pre-K through second grade teachers, this is going to be a really nice option for you, and even some of the upper grades, because you guys are still so standard spaced. Even 3rd through 6th grade where you're doing actual grading, you're still very consistent for the standards and making sure that you hit all of those standards before your tests. So let's come over here and we are going to get out of this quiz and we are going to go back and create an assignment. So let's take an assignment that I've already created. Okay, so here's an all about me assignment. You have to create the assignment first, just like you have to create the quizzes to add the questions. You have to create the assignments to add the rubric. Okay, but if you come down here to the bottom, you'll see plus rubric. Anytime you see a plus, that's a create button. So we're going to call this the all about me rubric. Okay, now you can add criteria of your own. You can use stock criteria. You can copy a rubric from another teacher. Okay, we're going to add criteria, and let's say this criteria is going to be name. So one of the things that we always try and get the students to do is to put their name on their paper. Do not stop doing that when you're on Canvas. Keep that as a skill. Even if they're showing you a picture from their phone on their Canvas account, they still need to have the name and the date and the title. All of that's just best practices because they're still going to have to do that when they get into secondary school. So if they have a name, they get 5 points. If they don't have a name, they get no points. But let's say that we want to add a mid-range. We want to say, okay, it's misspelled. Maybe they put their name, but they misspelled it. So they would only get 3 points. Or maybe we want to put that they put it, but they put it in the wrong location. Okay, so they would get a different number of points for that. So you can change those ratings. You can have it on a full Likert scale of 0 to 5, however you want to do that. You can also add standards. So let's say that you need to determine if your students have met a particular standard. So we're going to find our standards. Okay, we are going to search. Moore Public Schools has already uploaded all of the OAS standards. They are right here. So let's take mathematics, 1st grade mathematics. They go all the way down to pre-kindergarten. Algebraic reasoning, we're going to see if they can identify a pattern. So this question is, can they identify, create, complete, and extend patterns? So this is the rubric, and this may be the only rubric for the entire assignment, okay? So we're going to import that rubric. We're going to add that rubric to our, or add that outcome to our rubric. So now when we go to find outcome, it's right there. I only have to import it once. Okay, so now I have that standard. So here's the really cool thing. So let's go ahead and put this rubric on. This ties in to SpeedGrader. So think of those pre-K teachers that still have to do standards-based report cards. Bless your hearts. So we're going to go to Student View. Okay, and I think maybe we've already submitted one of these. Let's go to grades and see if we submitted one so far. Yep. So we've submitted one. So we're going to open this up in SpeedGrader. And now, instead of just being able to give the grade, 100 out of 100 or 5 out of 100, we're going to view our rubric, and we can do this grading automatically. So we can say, okay, did this student have their name on their paper? Yes, they get full marks. Did they meet this criteria? Yes, they did. They didn't exceed it, but they met it. And so what it's going to do is it's going to calculate those points. And if this is the only one that I have, if I don't have a name or anything else, if that standard is the only rubric expectation, now I'm going to know simply by the grades who has met that standard and who hasn't. And it automatically upgrades. It says, okay, you got 8 points out of that. So think about how you can set that up on your standards-based grading for you lower grades, and being able to just, you don't do right and wrong. You do you get it or do you not get it? And so this is going to be really helpful for you guys in that grading. The rubrics are also available for the teachers or for the students to see when they see the assignment. It's not 100% required, but if you have an administrator who wants to know your outcomes for all of your classes and they want the standards posted, then this is a really easy way for you to do that without having to add extra work. So I think that's about it. So we've got about 10 minutes left in this session. I want to give you guys a little bit of a break. So if you want to take this time to go ahead and take a 10-minute break, we will start session 2 at 2 o'clock. But I'll go ahead and stay on to answer any questions that we had from session 3. You can also add those questions to the chat room. Let's see.
Wendy, on assignments.
Yep.
I have a doc entered, right? I uploaded it, all about me, right? I made one real quick, threw it on. But when we had done it last year, it had like a little icon where they click on it and it would show a preview, but I can't get it to come up the way that you've done it. I mean, I don't even see it. I don't have that little icon or anything.
Did you link it through Office 365 or did you upload it?
No, I uploaded it from my computer.
Okay, good. So let me show you.
It just says .doc on it, .docx on it. But.
Yep. So, do you mind if I pull yours up and put it on my screen real quick? Okay.
Yeah. I made a honors chemistry course. Sandbox is what it says.
Okay.
You want me to get out of it?
Nope.
Okay.
You are fine.
And I like that idea that you had the hotspots, because if I put a like glassware up and then just, what is this? What is this? What is this?
Yep. That
would be kind of a good little quiz.
Absolutely. So can you see your screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is in the pre-AP chemistry.
It just says down on the bottom, it says unpublished course, and it says honors chem sandbox.
Got it. Okay. And so there's your all about me assignment. Okay, we're going to edit it. I don't see the doc.
It had, well, on my side, I can see the doc on it.
Save yours. Save your changes.
Okay. Oh yeah, because that's when I just put the title in.
Yeah.
Because I was hoping that they fixed it or had it set up where I could actually make the assignment in. Maybe that's what my problem was. I thought I had saved it, maybe not.
Okay, so if you upload a document, so let's just upload something real quick. So let me try and find a doc. Well, I don't use very many docs. There we go. Okay. So if you upload a document, once you upload it, it's not going to set with that original preview. Okay, so this is now just a link to the file.
Okay.
I'm going to click back on that so that it selects the entire link. And I'm going to either, depending upon which rich content editor, I'm either going to click link options and automatically open in a preview.
Okay, I did that.
Okay.
But that's weird that it has, because I took that title and everything out like quite some time ago, but it didn't.
That's no problem.
Okay.
Oh, I can't see the save button. I can't get to it because I'm in the.
There it is.
Okay.
No.
You may have to do it on your end because I've
Okay.
got my share screen cuts off right there.
See, now it's opening it though. And it wasn't doing it before. I think maybe, I don't know.
Once you hit save and it goes back to the original screen, it'll show the
Yeah.
inline preview.
Will it be visible? Well, I guess I need to look to see, is it visible for them if they saw it? Of course, I don't have it. I had it set up where it's not published yet, so.
Well, if you just hit save here,
Yeah.
this screen, see right now, it just has, they have to click on this preview button in order to see the preview. But if you go in and you click that link options and you put inline preview, then they won't have to click that button. It will just open up exactly like this.
Okay. Because that's really odd, because that's why I kept thinking, okay, why am I not seeing that little preview button? But
right
now it's there.
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
I actually see the little preview button.
Good.
See, it's that TA magic.
It happens sometimes. Okay, so the preview button. So anytime you add an assignment and add a document to one of your assignments, you can create a preview. So let me leave this. Go pull up an assignment. So here I have addition homework, okay? It opens up a preview. I can toggle that on or off by clicking on the link and changing the options either to automatically open or turn off open.
Okay.
So here now, it no longer has it automatically. The student is going to have to click the little preview button. So if you just want it available, if they need it, but you don't necessarily need to put it out there, you can just leave it like this. And if they want to see the preview, they can click on it. But for your littles, I would go ahead and have it automatic so that they don't have to click on anything else or think that they have to download it, because we don't want them to have to download any of this stuff if they don't have to. Okay.
Okay, even when I did that with the link option, it's still not showing up. Maybe if I have to save it.
No, it's fine. There's a question. You don't have to put your email again with each session, guys. If you put it in at the 9 a.m. session, I've got all of it. Okay, do you assign assignments for students that aren't in class, or should you assign it for everything? Fantastic question. Okay, so when you sync to Infinite Campus, it's only going to sync grades that you've put in. Unless you tell it to assign a missing grade, it's not going to put in a missing grade. So you can do it either way, depending upon whatever's easier for you. If we go into a situation where there is distance learning for everybody, and you've been assigning to everybody all along, just for those couple of students who aren't there, it could make the page a little cluttered, but you can always go back in and take those old assignments and unpublish them so they kind of disappear. If you want to make it easy on yourself so it's not so cluttered, then you can simply create a student group for the students who are on that option 2 and only assign to that group. So for instance, you will come over here to people and you will create a new group, and you would call this group option 2. And if you have students set up, then you could take those students that are on option 2 and you would assign them to that group. And then when you use that group as an assignment, you would only get those students. Or when you did the assignments, instead of assigning it to everyone, you could just type the few students' names who aren't absent on that day, and it would only assign it to those students. So I'm thinking right now, the option 2 caseload is going to be really small initially, okay? We have very few students who actually meet the criteria for option 2 based on some of the feedback that I've gotten from a few administrators. That could change. So as of right now, I think that that option 2 level is going to be fairly small. So I think it's okay. Another question, if we unpublish an assignment, will the grades be removed from IC? No, it's only a one-way sync. Once they go from Canvas to Infinite Campus, they're in Infinite Campus. You can go into Infinite Campus and update it. So if it transfers a grade and then the student retakes a quiz or something and it doesn't resync, you can go in and still manually add that. Okay, it's just that first initial sync. All right, fantastic. It is 2 o'clock. We are going to go ahead and start with our last session. Okay, so let me stop this recording and we're going to start a new one.